My name is Shayla, and for 22 years, I thought I knew exactly who I was. A girl from a small town, with a scholarship to an elite university, always just scraping by. That was my reality, my carefully constructed identity. I lived in the cheapest dorm, ate ramen every other night, and wore clothes that were more vintage than designer. Everyone knew me as the poor new girl, the one who worked 3 jobs just to keep her head above water. But here's the thing about identities. Sometimes they're just elaborate costumes. And sometimes the truth is far more astonishing than any lie. The moment of my great unveiling, my spectacular unraveling of that carefully woven facade, came not in a grand pronouncement, but in a hushed conversation I wasn't meant to overhear. I was standing by the dean's office, waiting for him to sign off on my latest financial aid appeal. A complete fabrication, of course, when I heard it. Whispers about the failing university, about its imminent closure, and the desperate search for a buyer. Little did they know, the buyer was already there, disguised in threadbare sweaters and a forced meekness. This isn't just a story about a girl who had a secret. It's about the moment that secret detonated, changing everything for everyone around her. If you've ever felt underestimated, if you've ever dreamt of turning the tables, then you're going to want to hear this. Hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into a world where perception is a carefully crafted illusion and power can emerge from the most unexpected places. The whispers followed me like a shadow. Poor Shayla. I'd hear them murmur in the hallowed halls of Blackwood University, their voices dripping with a feigned sympathy that always felt more like condescension. They talked about my thrift store finds, my worn-out backpack, the way I always seemed to have a coffee in hand, fueled by caffeine and sheer will. They didn't know that my thrift store finds were carefully curated pieces from high-end consignment shops, chosen for their ability to look just distressed enough. They didn't know that my worn-out backpack contained a tablet holding the blueprints for an actual multi-million-dollar tech startup. And they certainly didn't know that the coffee wasn't just to keep me awake, but to mask the occasional yawn from staying up all night, not studying for a midterm, but reviewing acquisition proposals. Blackwood was a university steeped in tradition, and that tradition included a rigid social hierarchy. At the top were the legacies, the trust fund babies, the ones who drove luxury cars and wore designer everything. And at the bottom? Me, the scholarship kid, the poor new girl. I played the part beautifully. I perfected the art of looking perpetually overwhelmed, subtly hinting at my financial struggles without ever explicitly stating them. It was a performance worthy of an Oscar, one I'd been perfecting for years. The truth was, my family wasn't just wealthy, we were filthy rich. My parents, both self-made tech moguls, believed in teaching me the value of hard work, but also the importance of understanding the world from all perspectives. Their idea of tough love involved sending me to a prestigious university where I was expected to live on a strict allowance, work part-time jobs, and experience life as someone without limitless resources. It was, in their words, character building. I called it anxiety-inducing performance art. But I was good at it. Too good, perhaps. The whispers, however, were about to change. Not about me, not yet, but about the very foundation beneath our feet. The rumors started subtly, like a hairline crack in a perfectly painted wall. First, it was the delayed renovations in the East Wing, then the unusually high turnover rate among some of the tenured professors. Soon, the cracks widened, revealing deeper structural issues. The cafeteria started serving cheaper, less appetizing food. The library hours were cut. And then came the whispered words that truly sent shivers down my spine: bankruptcy. Blackwood University, the esteemed institution that had educated generations of the elite, was on the brink of collapse. The news spread like wildfire through the student body, igniting a mixture of panic, disbelief, and for some of the wealthier students, a distinct lack of concern. "Daddy will just buy it," I heard one girl, Tiffany, scoff to her friends in the student lounge, adjusting the diamond tennis bracelet on her wrist. "Or we'll just transfer to an Ivy League. It's not like Blackwood is the only good school." Her words, meant to reassure her sycophantic entourage, grated on my nerves. Blackwood might have been a means to an end for me, a place to complete my parents' character-building experiment, but it was also a place where I'd formed genuine connections, however few. It was where I'd discovered a passion for historical preservation in a way I never thought possible. More importantly, it was home to countless students who didn't have the luxury of daddy buying it or transferring to an Ivy League. For them, Blackwood was their only shot, their one opportunity. The true weight of the situation hit me hardest during one of my shifts at the campus coffee shop. A frantic-looking professor, Dr. Miller, one of the kindest and most brilliant minds I'd encountered, spilled coffee on himself while anxiously talking on his phone. He looked utterly defeated. "They're cutting our pensions, Sarah," he whispered into the phone, his voice laced with despair. "After 30 years of dedicated service, what am I supposed to do?" My heart ached for him. It ached for all the faculty and staff who had dedicated their lives to this institution, only to face the prospect of losing everything. That night, lying in my uncomfortable dorm bed, the full extent of my parents' little experiment crashed down on me. I had access to unlimited funds. I could quite literally buy the entire university. The thought was audacious, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. What would my parents say? What would everyone say? The poor new girl buying out the whole college? It was a plot twist even I, the master of manufactured appearances, couldn't have predicted. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't just about saving the university. It was about proving to myself, and to everyone who had ever underestimated me, that I was more than just a costume. It was about taking control of my own narrative and writing a new, astonishing chapter. The world around me seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the inevitable collapse, unaware that a quiet storm was brewing within the poor new girl. A tempest of determination and a secret plan about to unfurl with unexpected force. The plan, once formed, took on a life of its own. It was a complicated dance of legalities, negotiations, and most importantly, absolute secrecy. I couldn't risk anyone finding out, especially not the current administration, whose incompetence was largely responsible for Blackwood's predicament. My parents, surprisingly, were on board. "It's a bold move, Shayla," my dad had said, a rare note of genuine admiration in his voice. "A true test of your mettle. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Don't just buy it, transform it." That conversation fueled me. I spent countless hours in my dorm room, not poring over textbooks, but poring over financial reports, legal documents, and architectural plans. I contacted my family's team of lawyers and financial advisors, all sworn to secrecy. We worked under aliases, through shell corporations, making it appear as though an anonymous investment group was swooping in to save Blackwood. The closer we got, the more surreal it felt. I was still attending classes, still pretending to worry about my next scholarship payment, all while secretly orchestrating the biggest financial acquisition of my life. The day of the announcement arrived with an almost palpable tension in the air. The dean had called an all-campus assembly, his face a mask of somber resignation. The faculty, staff, and students gathered in the grand auditorium, a sea of worried faces. I sat in the back row, trying to appear as inconspicuous as possible, my heart hammering against my ribs. The dean cleared his throat, his voice cracking as he began to speak of the difficult decision that had been made, the unfortunate circumstances that led them to this point. He was building up to the announcement of the university's closure. I knew it. And then, a new voice boomed through the speakers, confident and clear. "Good morning, Dean Davies. I believe I have a more optimistic announcement to make." My family's head of legal, a stern but brilliant woman named Ms. Albright, strode onto the stage, a thick binder in her hand. A hush fell over the auditorium. Dean Davies looked utterly bewildered. Ms. Albright, without preamble, declared, "As of this morning, Blackwood University has been acquired by a new entity. The university will not be closing. In fact, it will be undergoing a significant revitalization, starting immediately." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, quickly escalating into excited chatter. Then Ms. Albright turned to me, her eyes twinkling, and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. My cue. I stood up, walked to the stage, and took the microphone from a stunned Dean Davies. The auditorium went completely silent. I looked out at the sea of familiar faces, at Tiffany, whose jaw was practically on the floor, at Dr. Miller, whose eyes were wide with a mixture of hope and confusion. "My name is Shayla," I began, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "And for the past year, I've had the privilege of being a student here at Blackwood. I've also had the unfortunate experience of witnessing its decline. But Blackwood is more than just a collection of buildings. It's a community. It's a promise." I took a deep breath. "And as of today, I am the owner of Blackwood University." The words hung in the air, then exploded into a cacophony of gasps, shouts, and finally, a roar of applause. Tiffany's face was priceless. Dr. Miller looked like he might faint. And I, the poor new girl, finally felt the weight of my secret lift, replaced by an exhilarating sense of freedom and a brand new, incredible burden. The echoes of my revelation vibrated through the very stones of Blackwood, shifting the ground beneath everyone's feet, especially those who thought they knew exactly where everyone stood. The aftermath of my announcement was, to put it mildly, chaotic. The news spread like wildfire, not just through campus but across the nation. "The poor new girl buys the entire college." It was a headline tailor-made for every news outlet. My phone, which had previously seen limited action beyond ordering late-night pizza, was now a constant symphony of ringing. Journalists, investors, long-lost relatives. Everyone wanted a piece of the story, a piece of me. On campus, the reactions were a kaleidoscope of emotions. There was shock, of course, a widespread disbelief that the quiet, unassuming Shayla was secretly the multimillionaire who had just saved their university. Then came the anger from some of the faculty and staff who felt betrayed by the previous administration's secrecy and their own precarious positions. But overwhelmingly, there was relief palpable and profound. Students cheered, faculty hugged each other, and a new sense of hope began to ripple through the campus. My first order of business was to address the faculty and staff directly. I held a town hall meeting, open and transparent, explaining the financial situation, detailing my plans for revitalization, and, most importantly, reassuring them that their jobs were secure. I announced significant investments in infrastructure, technology, and, crucially, faculty salaries and benefits. Dr. Miller, his eyes bright with emotion, was among the first to shake my hand, his gratitude evident. "Thank you, Shayla," he murmured. "Thank you for saving us." His words meant more to me than any headline. Then there was the student body. The social dynamics, previously so rigid, completely shattered. The popular crowd, led by a visibly flustered Tiffany, didn't know how to react. Tiffany, who had once looked down on my cheap clothes, now looked at me with a mixture of awe and fear. Some tried to befriend me, suddenly interested in my vision for Blackwood. Others kept their distance, unsure how to interact with their former peer, who was now literally their landlord. I made it clear that while I was the owner, I was still a student. I continued to attend classes, though my part-time jobs were now replaced with endless meetings and strategic planning sessions. I made sure to be visible, to talk to students, to listen to their concerns, and to show them that this wasn't just a business transaction. It was a commitment to their future. The transition was far from smooth, but it was happening. Blackwood was not just saved, it was on the cusp of a glorious new chapter, and I, the poor new girl, was writing every single word of it. The weight of the secret had been heavy, but the weight of responsibility, though daunting, felt infinitely more fulfilling. The dust began to settle on the initial shockwaves, revealing not just a new owner, but a new era for Blackwood, where the past lessons of scarcity would inform a future of abundance and genuine transformation. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity, a blur of blueprints, budget meetings, and strategic planning sessions. My vision for Blackwood was clear: to transform it from a struggling institution clinging to outdated traditions into a vibrant, forward-thinking university that embraced innovation while honoring its rich history. The first tangible changes were almost immediate. The decrepit dorms were renovated, equipped with modern amenities. The cafeteria, once a source of collective dread, was transformed into a state-of-the-art dining hall, offering healthy, diverse options. The library, once a quiet, dusty tomb, became a hub of collaborative learning, with new technology and expanded resources. We invested heavily in cutting-edge research facilities, attracting top professors and talented students from around the world. But beyond the physical changes, there was a deeper transformation at play. I instituted a new scholarship program, specifically designed to support students from disadvantaged backgrounds, ensuring that financial constraints would never again be a barrier to a Blackwood education. I also established a mentorship program, pairing students with alumni and industry leaders, giving them invaluable real-world experience and networking opportunities. There were some initial pushbacks, of course. Some of the old guard, particularly a few board members who had been comfortable with the status quo, resisted the changes. They argued that I was moving too fast, that I was diluting Blackwood's elite image. But I held firm. My experiences as the poor new girl had given me a unique perspective, a deep understanding of the systemic inequities that plagued even the most prestigious institutions. I knew that true excellence wasn't about exclusivity, it was about opportunity. I also made sure to engage with the student body directly. I held regular office hours in the student union where I listened to their ideas, their concerns, and their dreams. It was during one of these sessions that I met Liam, a quiet but brilliant engineering student who had been struggling to afford the specialized software needed for his final project. I not only provided him with the software, but also connected him with an industry expert who could offer guidance. Witnessing the direct impact of my decisions, seeing the tangible difference I was making in individual lives, was more rewarding than any financial gain. Blackwood was no longer just a university. It was becoming a beacon of innovation, inclusion, and opportunity. And I, the girl who had once pretended to be poor, was the one lighting the way. As Blackwood bloomed under Shayla's stewardship, the echoes of the past faded, replaced by the vibrant hum of progress, but some shadows still lingered, refusing to fully dissipate in the new light. Even with the positive changes, there were still echoes of the past that needed to be addressed. The biggest one was the lingering resentment from some of the students who had previously looked down on me. Tiffany, in particular, struggled to reconcile the poor new girl with the powerful owner. She tried to maintain her social standing, but her attempts often fell flat, as the new Blackwood valued merit and genuine connection over superficial status. One afternoon, I found her in the student lounge, looking uncharacteristically distraught. She was on the phone, arguing with someone, and from what I could gather, her parents had cut her off financially, upset with her declining grades and what they perceived as her lack of ambition. It was ironic, given how often she had flaunted her wealth. I could have walked away. I could have savored the schadenfreude. But something in me, perhaps the part that still remembered the sting of being underestimated, urged me to approach her. "Tiffany," I said, my voice gentle. She jumped, startled, then quickly composed herself, a flicker of her old defiance returning. "What do you want, Shayla?" she snapped. "Just checking in," I replied, sitting down across from her. I couldn't help but overhear. "Is everything okay?" She scoffed. "As if you care. You're the one who turned this whole place upside down." "Maybe," I said, "but sometimes turning things upside down is exactly what's needed for them to get better." I spoke to her about the resources available to students, about the new scholarship programs, about the academic support that was now readily accessible. I didn't offer her a handout, but I offered her a pathway, a chance to rebuild just as Blackwood was rebuilding. To my surprise, she listened. Slowly, begrudgingly at first, she started to take advantage of the support systems in place. She joined a study group, sought help from a tutor, and even started volunteering at a local community center. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but it was a start. My experience as the poor new girl had taught me the importance of empathy, even for those who had once shown none. It taught me that everyone deserves a chance to rise, regardless of their past. And as I watched Tiffany slowly begin to shed her old facade, I realized that true power wasn't just about what you owned. It was about how you used that power to uplift others. Blackwood was not just a place where I had revealed my secret. It was a place where I was learning to truly lead, with both strength and compassion. The ripples of transformation extended beyond the grand halls, touching individual lives, and proving that genuine change often began with confronting one's own assumptions and embracing a new path. Years passed, and Blackwood University flourished under my leadership. It became a beacon of innovation and inclusivity, a testament to the idea that a prestigious education shouldn't be reserved for the privileged few. We expanded our research initiatives, launched groundbreaking interdisciplinary programs, and consistently ranked among the top universities in the nation for student satisfaction and postgraduate success. The poor new girl was now the celebrated president and owner, a role I embraced with a blend of humility and unwavering determination. I still attended some classes, auditing courses that genuinely interested me, enjoying the intellectual pursuit without the pressure of grades. I walked the campus grounds often, chatting with students, faculty, and staff, feeling the pulse of the community I had helped to build. My relationship with my parents evolved too. They were immensely proud, not just of my financial success, but of the values I had instilled in Blackwood. They even admitted, with a rare hint of humor, that their character-building experiment had far exceeded their wildest expectations. Tiffany, surprisingly, became one of my most vocal supporters. She had transformed, shedding her entitled persona and discovering a genuine passion for social justice. She graduated with honors and went on to work for a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing educational opportunities for underprivileged youth. We even shared a laugh once, reminiscing about the day I announced my ownership. "I thought you were pranking us," she admitted, shaking her head. "I really thought you were the poor new girl. You were so good at it." Dr. Miller, now a distinguished emeritus professor, remained a close friend and trusted advisor. He often reminded me of that desperate day in the coffee shop, and how my actions had given him, and so many others, a second chance. Blackwood was more than just a university. It was a living, breathing testament to resilience, a place where dreams were nurtured and potential was unleashed, regardless of one's background. And as I looked out at the vibrant campus, filled with the energy of bright, hopeful young minds, I knew that the greatest plot twist of my life wasn't just about buying a college. It was about discovering the profound impact one person, even a seemingly poor new girl, could have on an entire community and ultimately on the world. Today, Blackwood University stands as a testament to radical transformation. The once failing institution is now a thriving hub of learning, research, and innovation, attracting students and faculty from every corner of the globe. The old social hierarchies have crumbled, replaced by a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Everyone involved, from the most senior professor to the newest freshman, carries a shared sense of pride and purpose, knowing they are part of something truly special. As for me, Shayla, the poor new girl, who secretly bought out the entire college, I am no longer just an owner, but a steward. My journey from a carefully constructed facade to a leader of a thriving institution taught me the most profound lesson: that true value lies not in what you possess, but in the impact you create. It's about recognizing the cracks in the system and having the courage, and yes, the resources, to fill them with something better. It's about remembering that every person has a story, and sometimes the quietest stories hold the most astonishing power. Don't let anyone define you by your circumstances or your perceived limitations. Look closely at the world around you. What problems do you see that no one else is solving? What plot twist can you bring to your own narrative or to the narrative of those around you? The power to change things, to write a new ending, often lies dormant within us, waiting for the right moment to be unveiled. Embrace your own unexpected power and dare to surprise the world. My story at Blackwood is far from over, but the biggest lesson has been learned. The greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives you enrich.